Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the I-10 Connect regular community meeting where we'll be providing some updates. This is rather an irregular community meeting as it was originally scheduled for last week, but we had technical difficulties that prevented us from being on the air. So thanks for your patience and for joining us again this week. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Jorge Orejel, who is the project engineer for TxDOT for the I-10 Connect project, Rudy Elias, who is the project manager for SUNT Construction. Martin Bartlett, who will be giving the presentation this evening, is our consultant, our public information consultant with Barracuda PR. And then behind the scenes, we have the talented Joe Nahara, whom you will not see, but he's providing all the magic behind the curtain. So tonight, we want to let you know that you can ask questions, and we have engineers who can answer these questions, hopefully, or Martin and I can. And to submit a question, you can just send a quick email to info@i10connectelpaso.com. That's info@i10connectelpaso.com. So now I'm going to turn it over to Martin Bartlett, who's going to give you a presentation on this and tell you about upcoming closures, project update, and then we'll hear a little bit from Jorge and Rudy, who will kind of give us more detailed updates on where we are on the project, how much longer we have to endure, and what we can expect in the future. Thank you so much, Martin.
Jennifer, thank you. As you mentioned, this was a presentation we originally planned to give you a week prior to now, so the information we're giving you is still up to date. But what we'll do is we'll run you through some of the work that's been ongoing around the project and also talk a little bit about some of the ongoing closures and closures that will be coming up in the week ahead. So again, this, as Jennifer mentioned, is a team effort. Of course, the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT, leads the team. As Jennifer mentioned, SUNT is the general contractor for this project. Consor is providing construction management and inspection services. KCI, Kennedy Consulting, those are the folks that are actually responsible for the plans, hundreds upon hundreds of pages of plans for a project this complex. And then the company for which I work, Barracuda Public Relations, based here in El Paso, a local public involvement and public relations agency, all working together to make sure that we get you the best information possible. A little bit of information that's not changed about this project, but still very important. A $96 million project. Construction began on this project in February of 2019. And all told, there were approximately 3 years allocated for completion of this project. So do a little bit of quick math, and you can tell that means we're getting close to halfway through this project. Now, why is this project necessary? Why is 3 years worth of, frankly, inconvenience worth it to the traveling public? And it's all because of what you see here in this view. Everything you see in this view, which is taken as if we're flying above the spaghetti bowl, everything you see in new is a new ramp, either a completely new ramp or a replacement of an existing ramp. And the Connect in I-10 Connect is making it easier to get from I-10 to Loop 375 in central El Paso. The way this project will achieve that is by creating separate ramps for traffic which is just going down to Border Highway, will be on separate ramps from traffic which is going directly to the Bridge of the Americas. So whether you're going eastbound on I-10, westbound on I-10, or southbound on US 54, if you want to get to Loop 375, you'll have your own ramp. If you want to go to the Bridge of the Americas and cross into Juarez, you'll have your own ramp. Another important function is about changes in the Paisano I-110 area immediately north of the Bridge of the Americas. We'll get into more detail on those functions here in just a little bit, but we have a video presentation that includes some driver's eye views of the project and what it will look like when all is said and done. So what you see in this video here is, again, very similar to that still image we saw a moment ago. We're flying high above the spaghetti bowl. Ciudad Juarez is off to the south, directly ahead of us. Downtown El Paso off to the right. The east side, Lower Valley, off to the left side of the screen. And here you're seeing, highlighting in blue, each of those new ramps, which will give you direct access directly from I-10 or US 54 to the Bridge of the Americas, or allow you to connect directly to Loop 375. We're going to continue flying south along US 54. You'll see the El Paso Zoo come into view at the very top of your screen. And as the camera turns, one thing I'll ask you to notice is notice that those vehicles down there at the very bottom of your screen. those are the vehicles which are heading south towards the Bridge of the Americas. When this project is complete, all traffic will access the Bridge of the Americas via Interstate 110. That's that short freeway spur that connects directly into the Bridge of the Americas. So there you see something that may look rather familiar, but really dive into the details and notice there's a level of that interchange missing. We'll get into that in just a minute and explain how that'll make the project, or rather how that impacts the project and how it'll impact your drive once all is said and done. All right, now we're taking a driver's eye view coming from downtown El Paso. This is a very similar view to what you've seen for many, many years. The ramps are a little bit wider, but the big impact we see is coming up. When the project is complete, if you would like to go directly from downtown to Juarez, you'll follow this silver SUV and go off to the right. But we're going to go off to the left and get on the main lanes of US 54, which will give us direct access to Loop 375 so we can continue on our way down to the lower valley. One thing you'll notice as well, there is an exit off of US 54 to Paisano Drive, but as noted, no access from US 54 or Paisano Drive at this location to get you to the Bridge of the Americas. So all traffic heading to the bridge will have to make that decision at the Spaghetti Bowl coming from I-10 or coming from southbound US 54. Here's another driver's eye view for you coming from the east side heading to the Bridge of the Americas. Again, this is going to look very similar to what you've seen for years and years and years. Of course, this ramp we're driving on following this red SUV closed right now, detoured up through the Pershing turnaround, and has been for some time. But you can probably go back in your memory bank and remember this view very, very distinctly. Again, this is when we get to the big change, the decision point. Do I want to go off to the left side and go down to US 54 to get to Loop 375? Or do I want to go straight, follow this silver SUV, and head down to the Bridge of the Americas to have direct access to the Bridge of the Americas? That red car coming in from the right is coming in off of southbound US 54 with its direct access to the Bridge of the Americas. As we continue traveling south towards the bridge, you'll notice there's a little more queuing space for vehicles that are waiting to cross into Ciudad Juarez. Another very important thing that you will notice is distinct lanes for trucks versus automobile traffic. Probably the biggest thing you'll notice at this location is that those truck lanes no longer required to go up through traffic lights, which they have been required to do for many, many years now. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the work that's been underway around the project site, or is underway right now. Again, we talked about that I-110 US 62 Paisano Drive interchange there north of the Bridge of the Americas. We were showing you in that illustration the way it's going to change, going from being a three-level interchange with 4 traffic lights right there on the middle level to just 2 levels where traffic goes east and west on Paisano and north and south onto I-110 in and out of the bridge. A lot of work in that area. Also work placing bridge girders for some of those new ramps from I-10 to Juarez. And this is something that may go unnoticed by many of us. Safety barriers line many areas of the I-10 Connect work zone to create an added layer of protection for motorists and those that are actually getting the work done. A lot of that safety barrier has been relocated onto the main lanes of I-10 near Piedras for some work on some new dynamic message signs, which will be coming in as part of this project as well. Photos of some of the work that's been underway. This is a look southbound on I-110. There you see Zavala Elementary in the background. So we're kind of looking off to the southwest towards Juarez. You know, most of this project is in the air, but there are quite a few pieces that are on the ground. So this you see paving work there at ground level. Moving into the next slide, you can see we've gotten up on one of those bridges. This is an overhead bridge looking south, a little bit north of that original, or the last photo we saw. We've moved closer to I-10 from Zavala, and this is one of those direct connector ramps that will connect directly from I-10 to the Bridge of the Americas. All right, in those past 2 photos, we talked about what was there. What I want you to notice about this photo is what isn't there. As we were in the past 2 photos, we're looking south. So the Bridge of the Americas, Ciudad Juarez are in the background, I-110 right there in the foreground on the El Paso side. A lot of asphalt missing. You can see 1-lane ramp allowing traffic to leave the Bridge of the Americas. All traffic coming out of the bridge now required to go north, or rather go east on Paisano Drive, because work is underway right now on that interchange immediately north of the bridge. A couple of weeks ago, on May 27th, we instituted some permanent changes as part of this project. Right there in purple, everything you see in purple, that's that area near that Bridge of the Americas interchange that was regulated by traffic lights. So all of those traffic lights gone. Several of the bridges that connected those roads gone. So effectively what you're looking at now is a right turn coming off of Copia onto Paisano still allowed, a right turn from Paisano into the bridge allowed, and that right turn coming out of the bridge heading onto Paisano allowed. Very few other movements are allowed right now in that area. Traffic can still flow south on I-110, but again, all that northbound traffic has to turn onto Paisano when leaving the bridge. A little bit north, I'll draw your attention to that exclamation point in that purple diamond. That's a permanent closure of a very small stretch of Stevens Street between the Franklin Canal and I-110, but one we recognize will have a big impact. Moving into the next slide, we actually have a photo showing you can see the entire length of the closure, but we recognize that a lot of vehicles, especially during this construction project, would use Copia Street to Rivera to Stevens to get into the line to head south into Juarez. That section of Stevens is now closed and will remain closed permanently. So now is the time to begin building those habits. All traffic accessing Ciudad Juarez should plan to follow the marked detours and then access the bridge using southbound Interstate 110. We've talked a lot about vehicle detours. Let's talk about pedestrian detours right now. We're really zoomed in right there on that area immediately north of the bridge. Those two areas you see in red with the exclamation points, these are roadways not only that are closed, but just don't exist anymore. These are the bridges that would carry you. Let's say you're coming from the zoo, making a left turn towards the bridge. You would go over to the International Bridge. You'd make a small jaunt over a bridge above the freeway. That bridge is gone. Same thing for its companion on the south side. So really important to remember that a lot of us haven't been out and about as much as we have been in months past. So things are changing out there, especially in the I-10 Connect work zone. So be especially mindful that some things that you think may be there just aren't there in this work zone. So one thing that is there is a very well-marked pedestrian detour showing pedestrians how to get in and out of the Bridge of the Americas. We have a video presentation now kind of explaining a little more information about the way to safely navigate around any pedestrian work zone and specific information for how pedestrians can get around this work zone.
Demolition of the middle level of the I-110 Paisano Drive interchange near the Bridge of the Americas is now underway. That means detours are now in place for motorists and pedestrians. The eastbound and westbound mid-level bridges many pedestrians previously used to cross I-110 have been removed. This temporary crosswalk has been put in place immediately north of the Bridge of the Americas. Whether you're coming north into El Paso or going south into Juarez, this is the only place you're allowed to cross I-110. The crosswalk is in place immediately north of the TABC shelter. New striping will help you navigate across traffic as a pedestrian. Enhanced signage will alert motorists of the temporary crossing. Temporary chain link fencing is in place to help separate safe pedestrian zones from work zones. Never go inside work zone fencing and never walk on the shoulder of the road. TxDOT has these pedestrian safety tips no matter where you're walking. If a sidewalk is available, use it. Cross only at crosswalks, and make eye contact with a driver before you cross any roadway. For more information on the I-10 Connect project, visit i10connectelpaso.com.
So as we heard and as you saw, very important to make sure that people whenever you're crossing the bridge, we know that pedestrian traffic is significantly limited right now, but for folks who do have to cross the bridge, incredibly important to make sure that you cross at those marked crosswalks. And also for motorists, incredibly important to be aware of that temporary crosswalk just north of the TABC shelter. Here you're seeing an image of speed bumps which were recently installed right before you get to that TABC shelter, right before you get to that temporary crosswalk. Again, just to remind motorists that as you're heading south, we know that traffic is generally moving very slow in that area, but especially important, even if you could go faster, don't, because that pedestrian route, that safe pedestrian route has been moved. So that's related to traffic that's going south into Juarez. I want to talk a little bit about a change, which is likely to be upcoming in the coming weeks. Don't have a date certain, but just want to give everybody an update for some changes that may be coming soon for northbound traffic. As we mentioned, I-110 heading out of the bridge there at the very bottom level of that interchange remains closed, so all traffic has to turn right onto Paisano. There may be some modifications coming in the coming weeks to make it a little safer for automobile traffic. Right now, traffic enters Paisano by merging in coming out of the bridge. There is also a temporary access point for CBP. Because of the way those two pieces are, because of the proximity of those two pieces to one another, it's been very tempting for many motorists to make an illegal U-turn from eastbound Paisano to westbound Paisano. So there may be some changes involving a temporary, or rather a slight relocation, a slight modification of that northbound detour to make it a little bit more difficult, a little bit less incentivized to make that illegal U-turn. We've heard from our friends down at the Bridge of the Americas about this, so we want to make sure that everybody is being cognizant that you follow those marked. When you see a sign that says no U-turn, or when you have any question about it, just don't make those illegal U-turns, because then what's going to happen is here in a couple of weeks, we will be likely flipping some of or rather changing some of the traffic control to make it a little bit more difficult to make that U-turn. So again, I think most locations along Paisano have prohibitions on U-turns, so just have your eyes open to some of that signage that you may be ignoring. So we'll provide future details, or rather more details on those changes as they become available. All right, this is a closure which is underway right now, last night, tonight, and tomorrow night, and will also be in place a couple of nights next week. So I want to put this on your radar screen, not nearly as impactful as those changes near the Bridge of the Americas might be, but just want to make sure everyone is aware that in order to get those bridge girders in place that we were talking about earlier, US 54, southbound US 54 closed to all traffic from I-10 to Paisano last night, tonight, and tomorrow night, coming up again 2 nights next week. Also there noted in purple at kind of the top of that map near Concordia Cemetery, ramp E, which is a ramp that connects Gateway South to southbound US 54 at Yandell, has been closed since Monday and will be closed until Wednesday. We'll have a similar situation coming up next week. Again, all about making sure crews have room to maneuver those bridge girders into place for one of those bridges that will connect directly to Ciudad Juarez. So that is an overview of what's been going on around the project and what's to come. Of course, we're more than happy to answer any questions we get from the community. info@i10connectelpaso.com is the best way to get your questions answered tonight. Also, we'll keep monitoring this email address in the days and weeks to come in case there are any other questions. Jennifer?
Thank you, Martin. Excellent presentation. I think it's very illuminating. One of the things that you touched on, Martin, was the fact that you mentioned the direct access now, and that really is the reason for this project. In the past, you could not get directly to Loop 375 from I-10 or US 54. You had to get off the highway and go through some traffic lights. In the future, when there's an incident or work or projects going on I-10, you will be able to have smooth passage from I-10 or US 54 directly to Loop 375 to help you get around any of this, whether it's incident management, construction, repair, whatever's going on in the roadwork. So that's really important. Another really important thing is that when you're traveling this roadway, anytime, day or night, make sure you follow the marked detours in place. Don't make those impromptu illegal maneuvers with your car. You just need to follow the signs, follow the detours, and I promise you, you will get there in a safe and quick fashion, and it should work for you. Now, I'd like to ask Rudy Elias, our project manager from SUNT, to give us sort of a little quick overview about what we can expect in the next phases of this project. What are going to be the next big milestones and changes that we're going to see in the project? Rudy?
Hey, Jennifer. Yeah, so next month in August, we're going to start our first milestone for the contract. And that's the ramp from I-10 westbound that takes you to the 110. We have about 6 months to complete that ramp and open it to the public. Once that's completed and open to the public, then we'll start the second milestone, which is the I-10 eastbound ramp to the 110. And that one is approximately about 7 months to complete. So milestone 1 will start first and has to be completed prior to milestone 2 starting. And then milestone 3 is probably going to overlap both milestones. We're looking at starting that later this fall, and that'll take us to the end of the project.
Oh, that's great news. I really do appreciate hearing about that. So basically, those ramps to Juarez that we've been missing, some of the first changes that were made on this project was those ramps closed down. So the next big changes that we'll see, and they will be in a few months, maybe 6 months, will be the reopening, the starting to reopen those ramps. And that's going to be a welcome event for the traveling public, people trying to get to Juarez as they used to do it. Jorge, my friend Jorge Orejel, our TxDOT engineer on this project. How's the project going? I've heard some questions in some recent meetings I've been, and the people are asking, is the project on time? Is the project on budget? How's all that going?
Thank you for asking that, Jennifer. As a matter of fact, that's what I wanted to tell the public. You know, despite some of the unexpected obstacles that we had encountered in the project, this is an interesting fact. The project is within its schedule and within budget, which is good. You know, we're always shooting for that, and I can honestly tell you that this spray is going well, and that's because we have a good partnership with the contractor. TxDOT has a very good partnership with the contractor and with all the entities that are working around these projects. So, you know, I'm glad to say that everybody's doing a great job on this project, and I just want to stress that out because the public may see a lot of inconvenience to the traffic. But despite all that, the project is going well. So that's a fact, Jennifer. We are not overspending money here or using more time than we are supposed to be using, right?
That's excellent, excellent news to hear. And I'm sure the public's really glad to hear that we are being careful stewards of their taxpayer dollars on this super critical project. Now, Martin, have we had any questions come into our email address at info@i10connectelpaso.com? Oh, can't hear you.
So far, I don't see any emails have come in yet into the info@i10connectelpaso.com email address. Of course, we would always encourage folks, if you want to get your questions answered, go ahead, send them to us via email. There are many, many other ways you can stay up to date on this project. In addition to that email address, you can also give us a call, 855-463-1010. We'll give you a call back within one business day. Also, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. That's where we give out a lot of information about the closures. Another item that I would really, really encourage people to do that we have heard from many, many members of the public that they're really enjoying is text message alerts directly to their phones when we have an upcoming major closure. So just go to i10connectelpaso.com. You'll see an icon to sign up for text message alerts. We will not bombard you. We will not spam you with text messages. But what we will do is if there's going to be a major closure, something on I-10, something on US 54, something unexpected, we will send an alert directly to your phone so you get that information before you leave the house. One thing we do ask you to do is, you know, you're on your honor not to text and drive while you're using this service, but we really do find that it is a great way to get that information directly to you so you can check your phone before you head out and don't get caught by any surprises.
Thank you for mentioning that. Now that we're getting into the monsoon season, things are going to change. So in order to keep this project, again, within time and within budget, we get some unexpected storm events, we're going to have to adjust the schedule, and we're going to be telling the public, maybe not in a week in advance, but Jennifer will tell the public perhaps 2 days in advance, okay? And it's very important that the public gets the message through all these venues that we have, okay? Yes, sir.
Not to mention the winter months too. I mean, not only the monsoon, but the winter months, you know, we have cold weather that we have to deal with. So
that's right. A lot of people are not aware that the weather, whether it's precipitation or temperature, it affects the chemistry of the concrete we're putting down. And so we can't always, conditions have to be right for that, or it won't dry properly and it won't have the strength and integrity that we rely on so our roadways will last for decades. So I guess you guys did such a good job with the information that we still don't have any questions come in to our email address at info@i10connectelpaso.com. But again, as Martin said, you can always submit them later. I'd like to thank everyone, unless someone else has something to add. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us on this Facebook Live meeting. And I'd like to thank the public for their patience as we get through this job. The word from the contractor and our project engineer is that we're halfway through. So that is good news, on time, on budget. And we look forward to seeing you next month. It's usually the first Tuesday of the month at 5:30. We will again have another public information meeting. So hopefully you can join us in August. And until that time, I'm Jennifer Wright for the Texas Department of Transportation, and we're encouraging everyone to stay safe, travel safely, and stay home if you can. Thank you so much.